Here's what happened to me last month. I left to go to Alabama for a few days. I live in Los Angeles and it felt good to leave for a while. Even though this was no vacation, it still felt amazing to be with family for a few days. My mom's side of the family is small, so whenever someone is in need, we are all hands on deck. My Aunt Mabel is 78 years old and has been experiencing many health issues, one of them being dementia. Aunt Mabel lives in a small town. I arrived that morning and my older brother Alex flew in that evening from Florida. My Aunt Mabel's daughter, Carlisa, my first cousin, has been taking care of Aunt Mabel while she's still trying to work her 9-to-5 job. For weeks, Carlisa has not even stayed at her own house. She spent almost every night with her mother to make sure that she was okay. We have very little family still in Alabama. Hell, we have very little family in general. So everyone had been taking turns coming throughout the year back and forth to Alabama when they could help Carlisa take care of Aunt Mabel. Aunt Mabel's mental condition had gotten to the point where it was too challenging for her to live on her own. The family pulled together financially and paid for Aunt Mabel to go into a beautiful assisted living community about 30 minutes away that would provide her with the best care around the clock, other neighbors, and it's a senior community with activities and so much more. My Aunt Mabel's house is a huge farm-style house with 5 bedrooms sitting on about 15 acres of land. The house has been in our family for over 80 years. It's down a dirt road off of the main local highway. I'm not quite sure why my family never paved it, but in any event, it was no longer ideal for Aunt Mabel to be there by herself, even for short periods of time. Even though Aunt Mabel moved, her house will stay in the family. She signed ownership of the home over to her daughter, Carlisa, a few years ago. Carlisa has her own home, so she decided it would be a great idea to rent it to our cousin Tracy and her family. Tracy and her husband have 4 kids, and they currently live in Atlanta in a small apartment in a not so good area. So the space of this house is going to be perfect for them. When Alex and I arrived, we had been doing our best to give our cousin Carlisa a break. Alex cleaned and packed the house to get Aunt Mabel ready for the move. I ran errands in town and did all of the cooking and taking care of Aunt Mabel. I didn't sleep well while I was there because I would get up in the middle of the night with Aunt Mabel when she would have these nightmares. She would scream and scream and scream. It was rather concerning because it happened almost every night. Carlisa said that Aunt Mabel's doctor prescribed a couple of things, but nothing seemed to help. One night, me, Carlisa, and Alex had so much fun sitting outside on the back porch, drinking wine and talking about our lives. Aunt Mabel had been asleep for about 2 hours, and then from out of nowhere, we hear screams coming from inside of the house. We knew it was one of her nightmares. I told Carlisa and Alex that I would go in there with her. When I got into Aunt Mabel's room, she was sitting straight up on her bed looking out the window. I said, "Hey, Auntie, are you okay?" I sat down slowly beside her and put my arm around her shoulder. She looked at me and said, "Kay, why is that man at my window?" I froze. I did not know if she was imagining this or not. The window to her bedroom faced the front of the house. We were both looking out the window, but I didn't see anyone. I asked my aunt if he was still there, and she said yes. I said, "How close to the window is he?" She said that his face was right at the window. At this point, I knew she was seeing things because I got off the bed and went closer to the window, and I did not see anyone. To paint the picture for you, the house is way out in the country, but there are lights that surround the house and a few lights where the dirt driveway is. I sat there with Aunt Mabel talking to her to calm her down. After a while, Carlisa and Alex came in to check on us. Alex made her some tea, and in about an hour, she was asleep again. The next morning, I was cooking breakfast, and Alex was sitting at the table on his phone. Aunt Mabel walked into the kitchen with her walker and said, "Kay, that man is at my window again." Alex looked at me with a bit of concern on his face. Before I could say a word, Alex told Aunt Mabel that we would go in there and check her window for her. He walked towards the room and me and Aunt Mabel followed. When we got in the room, Aunt Mabel started pointing at the window, asking us if we saw the man because he was right there at the window. Alex and I did not see anyone. I took Aunt Mabel back into the kitchen for her to calm down. This went on for the next few days, Aunt Mabel seeing some man at her window that the rest of us did not see. By the end of the week, the house was packed and it was time for Aunt Mabel to move into the assisted living community. Me, Carlisa, and Alex got her all moved in. It was a brand new, beautiful community for seniors. Aunt Mabel had her own one-bedroom apartment with nurses 24 hours a day on site. We could tell Carlisa was relieved and happy that her mother would be getting top-notch care, plus she was still close enough for her to visit her mother often. After we got Aunt Mabel all moved in, we all headed back to the house for the night. Alex and I had flights leaving out the next day. Before we got to the house, we made a stop at the liquor store to get tequila for margaritas. We were about to have fun our last night in Alabama with our cousin Carlisa. Carlisa called over a few of her friends, and that night we cooked, drank, played cards, and had a great time. At some point, I realized that I had left my phone in the car, and I went outside to get it. When I was walking off the porch, I looked up and saw a man standing at the end of the driveway. He was a bit older, with jean overalls on and a straw hat. I wanted to scream, but nothing would come out. Before I could even turn around to run back to the house, the man vanished in thin air. At that point, I ran back into the house. I was too scared to say anything, because who would believe me? Am I drunk? Did I just imagine that? Is this the same man that Aunt Mabel saw? OMG, was she telling the truth? But wait, the man wasn't real. I just watched him vanish. For the rest of the night, I was shook. I barely slept. And the house just felt weird. When I got back to Los Angeles, I could not stop thinking about what I saw. At this point, I had convinced myself that I had just had way too much to drink that night and I was imagining shit. After about a week, I decided to call Aunt Mabel to check on her to see how she was liking her new home. When I talked to Aunt Mabel, she was so excited to talk to me and I was so excited to talk to her. She said that she loved her new apartment and started telling me about her new senior friends in her building and all of the activities that she had been doing. She then said that she never sees that man at her window anymore. She caught me off guard when she said that. I said to her, Aunt Mabel, what did that man look like you saw at your old house? She said, well, he was tall, old, with blue overalls and a straw hat. Little did Aunt Mabel know she just described the man that I saw in the driveway that night that vanished into thin air. Aunt Mabel was not seeing things. I dropped the phone.